Hey,
Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. Welcome.
hi. Nice to see you all again. Maybe.
My name is Phil Brown.
My name is Stephen Herder, and we are members of the International Teacher Development Institute, also known as iTDi.pro.
And we are here today. We're happy to be here finally. Sorry for the delayed start. If any of you were here 30 minutes ago, there's a slight technical hitch between Facebook and Zoom. Hopefully we have resolved now, and it should be coming through to our page. So thank you very much for joining us. Today we are going to be here for our monthly roundup. The last one was quite some time ago.
Back in that year that we will not ever mention the name of again, the
Indeed.
year that shall not be named. But tonight we're looking at diving deeper into ELT professional development. And that sounds like it's been a real fun discussion you and I have had all week about this, hasn't it?
Absolutely. And as usual, we have three parts to our session, but we'll cut the first short part a little bit shorter, but just give a brief overview of what's been happening in the world of ELT and TESOL before getting into our main topic. Steve mentioned, diving deeper into ELT professional development. And then lastly, share a couple of things that are happening in iTDi and ELT more widely in the next month or so.
Yep, great.
Okay, so yeah, it's been really quite an amazing transformation in terms of ELT professional development online, with a huge explosion in what's available, what's out there. So we thought we'd just kind of take a look and reflect a little on what's been going on.
I think that's is it appropriate to explain now how we came up with this title or save that for later?
Um, yeah, can start now. I think actually that's
Yeah.
fine. Yeah.
So it seems like all of us were shocked and dismayed at being forced to make some very significant changes in our teaching in the first half of 2020. And
Mhm.
so we were all put in this kind of reactionary mode where we were just trying to basically survive and try to get it together. The whole online world seemed to jump ahead some 10, 15, 20 years of advancement all within about a month or so. And it was very stressful on students and teachers alike.
Mhm.
But it seemed like after the first term in many places, people kind of took on a proactive approach. A whole bunch of groups offering support to one another popped up. And now it seems like there are more opportunities for professional development than have ever been available before. And so rather than us trying to figure out how to go back to 2019, which might have seemed normal, we came up with this idea that now's the time that because we're in this mode of change and that we're used to change, well, let's run with this. Let's go deeper into it and find out both where we are at in our own professional developments in order to find out what suits us best as a next step or as a way to go deeper. We talked a little bit about the curation, the need to curate better. Hey?
Right. So yeah, if we think about what we've regularly looked at in terms of online professional development, and we have a lot of kind of huge explosion in the number of online webinars and also Facebook groups and different communities. And then also we still have obviously regular online courses that people can take and provided by a number of different course providers worldwide. And then also there's kind of the rush, the global rush, sometimes for people to get certified in teaching and so forth. We've got the whole spectrum there as well.
Yeah. And therefore, I mean, by example, I looked the other day, there were 3 or 4 webinars that I was interested, all in the same day,
Hmm.
within hours. And so there's that need to better curate where you're going to get the most bang for your buck, or for your time investment, or for the energy that it takes you to make a commitment to that. So that's why we feel like the time is right to dive deeper into ELT professional development with a little more developed approach to it, or a little more sophisticated approach, by not just doing it off the top of your head, but thinking about what you need, what best serves you, and how to get in there and get started. Hey?
Yeah, so quite often, obviously, then we get first Facebook notifications about events that are coming up, depending upon what we've liked, what we've been following, and so on. But still, I mean, myself as well included, sometimes things are just reactionary. I see something, oh, that's interesting, or that might be useful, and then I might pop in if it suits my schedule, and so on. But it's almost like there's become too much that's been available of late. So really looking for, yes, maintaining, looking for quality that is out there, and also what do I want, or what do I need, and what is suitable for me.
Yeah, exactly. So we have, just for your information, we have connected onto our page. I'm seeing us. All is good. And we've got people in the room. Ruthie Ida, Maria Glaznova, Rhett Burton, Franco Jesus from Peru, um, Henna Reldne, which is our good friend of another name. Effie is here from Greece.
Mhm.
And we got Rona Reante, konnichiwa from Japan. So it's great. If The way these normally work is we've got three parts to this session. Phil and I are really riffing off each other, but we're also keeping an eye on this live page for questions, follow-up comments that we'll try to share with everybody. So with that, why don't we move into the in case you missed it section of our plan tonight. Hey, Phil?
Sure. So yeah, just there's been a lot happening. Mostly, I think we're still being seeing, for example, regular stops like IATEFL. They've recently put out their program of events, and also I expect we'll see the same from tsol.org.
Yeah.
British Council Teaching English being very active and busy, and sharing lots and lots of regular webinars on a whole host of topics. And there's
And
quite
these groups that you're mentioning for the audience are always dependable, always good. They put a lot of effort and time into making good quality programs, and so we are, always happy to shout out about them. Right?
Absolutely. And then also there's been the move to online conferences and webinars by a lot of the teaching organizations, the national and international ones, whether it's the Japan Association of Language Teachers or Korea TESOL, and whichever country you're in around the world, then we've seen that same thing happening.
Yeah, the Cambodia TESOL
Mhm.
has been a popular one that is coming up in February, and they're online as well. So if you, yeah, Cam TESOL, if you look it up on online.
And all across to Europe, Greece, Brazil, South America, and so on. So,
Yeah,
and of course, tsol.org as well, which I think have been also offering scholarships as usual.
yeah,
So, and then in addition to that, we've kind of also got the kind of the grassroots upwards of individual teachers who are also creating their own groups, and also people who are getting together with like-minded teachers who share similar interests or goals or needs.
right.
And those have kind of provided a lot of new opportunities, such as, for example, you're talking about online teaching Japan.
Yeah. Yeah, they're a great organization through Facebook. They all came together as teachers in a bit of a panic as to how to handle all of those big emergency remote teaching that suddenly was thrust upon us all. And they've grown in about a year now to somewhat around 2,000 members,
Mm.
with a very practical, helpful. I've gotten so many good ideas and support from that group. So I'm very happy to nod toward the excellent work that they've been doing.
Mm. Fantastic. And then um, the other thing that I wanted to give a shout out to is from our course, Scott Thornbury courses on Dogma ELT in September and November. A number of participants wanted to continue the conversation after the course, and so set up Dogma ELT group on both.
That's a Facebook group.
Yes, on Facebook and on WhatsApp, and they've been having monthly get-togethers online talking about different aspects of Dogma ELT, and we'll have a session tomorrow as well looking at learner autonomy and Dogma.
Is that a group that's open to new members, or is that a group that's closed right now?
It's open, and I will share a link to that in the chat later as well, but you can also just find it by searching for Dogma ELT.
Let's finish up that thought on Scott Thornbury's course, because he ran one for us in September of 2020, and we had a huge positive reaction to it. So with the overflow numbers, he agreed kindly to open a November version of the course, and that went just as well. And there, and we still got lots of people trying to join after it hit a limit. He had set a limit in order to have a small enough intimate community to work with.
Right.
And so somebody in our organization came up with a great idea to put a waitlist button. And that's resulted in us offering, Scott offering his course Dogma ELT again this coming March of 2021. And just to give you some inside information, it's almost full again, but there are a few spaces left, and we will be putting the link up in the chat here some point in the next little while.
Yes. So yeah, as we've moved from kind of this reactive to slightly more proactive approach to ELT professional development online, and navigated the new normal that we've been faced with, then we can see out of all of the opportunities online, you have your free webinars and live streams, Facebook groups, of which there are an abundant number these days. And of course, we still have.
All right, so those are sort of like just a one-off thing, right?
Yes.
It's a one-time go jump into the webinar. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's with a couple of small exceptions, like some of the courses run by the British Council as MOOCs, and then you can join those, and then they're free unless you want the certification, and then pay for the certification. So there are some that are following that model as well, which makes it widely accessible for people as well. So they're like massive online courses. And then, of course, we have people who then take specific courses, whether they're short 1 month courses on a particular topic, like our advanced skills courses, or whether people are doing a teaching certification, like a TESOL or CELTA, TEFL certificate, or whether they're taking some other specific area of interest to, for example, for using technology in the classroom, or self-publishing and so forth. But basically, people obviously looking to learn something new, maybe get certified and grow professionally and personally.
So just to say thank you to Maria, she's put the Dogma ELT Facebook link on the Facebook page. Thank you very much, Maria. And I think this might be a good time to ask people in the audience this question about, you and I were talking about how even with all of these new opportunities that are out there, it takes a certain amount of confidence and or risk to step up and jump in. So let me just review quickly. You got number one is the kind of one-time webinars that you just jump into. Number two would be these free online communities that you can join and have discussion boards or sometimes live sessions. And then that's a little bit more of an ongoing commitment. And then number three would be this kind of free courses that are offered through some organizations, and sometimes through some companies offer free versions of later paid courses, or these kinds of register for a full-on paid course. So I'm curious that even though there's all these different kinds of opportunities out there, have you jumped into any of those in the past year? Have you tried anything new? I mean, those of you who are here are at this kind of, what would this one be? A free one-off? This is kind of maybe closer to an online community that has a number of these throughout the year. Hey, we see a lot of these people's names that we've seen before.
Yes, so just feel free to type in the chat, share where you're at, and whilst doing that, I'll just share a little illustration. So sometimes, as we can see here, we might be diving deeper and thinking about really investing in our professional development, going full out, buying our scuba diving gear and so forth, and knowing that, you know, we can get deeper and there's something out there, something particular that we're after as well. But of course, you know, we're not necessarily one or the other, and we may be different things at different times. Like all of us, you know, sometimes we might be just dipping our toes, watching something online and maybe commenting, or we might be kind of getting involved in discussion, already swimming. Or we might decide that, yes, we joined a community, we want to buddy up with some people and really take a more of a kind of a go snorkeling approach to it. And so
You
forth.
also had that other one up there where you're just taking a look, the person standing there just kind of peeking in, and the old lurking word we used to say, which we've always encouraged here in iTDi, is that we don't want to force anybody to have to make a big commitment to sharing all the wisdom of their experiences. Just come in and hang out. When we used to do the teachers room, we had people who came in for, you know, a number of times, and then finally one day would speak up or ask a question, and that's totally cool. So I'm curious, anybody in the audience, where are you at on this picture? Are you how active, how committed, how deep into the water are you with events that are happening out there already? Let's give people just a minute to type here, Phil.
Mm-hmm. How about yourself, Steve?
Well, being a 30-something year veteran teaching, I'm still deathly afraid of going into new groups that I don't know what is expected of me. You know, if it's not clear how much I'm going to have to, you know, output, I'm deathly afraid of it. You know, there's a couple coming up this week that I'm going to go in, and I really, believe it or not, like to be as low key as possible until I feel comfortable,
Right.
until I kind of suss out what's going on in this group.
So I
And
guess you're
so,
sitting on that boat then.
say again.
I guess you're sitting on the boat with your feet dangling in the water.
Yeah, but willing to dive in without my full gear if it looks challenging and stimulating. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah, definitely. I think, you know, it's part of our reality that, you know, with those new communities, regardless of how experienced we are, then this is where we may start off, and then we kind of may participate at different levels of commitment.
Yeah. We've got a couple of answers here. Are you able to see, are you able to see the Facebook Live or not? As I'll
Uh,
keep up on, I'm keeping up on it. You keep doing on the
okay.
where you're
I'll
at.
let you follow the chat in the
Yeah.
Facebook
Oh,
Live.
just to bring up,
Yep.
Anne is saying I miss TTR, which warms our hearts completely. The teacher's room.
I was just saying that to Ruthie the other day. I was reminiscing a little bit and saying,
Yeah.
I miss the teacher's room.
Yeah. Rhett is clearly in too deep. Elgin Flanagan is, I'm in the boat with the binoculars, and that's cool.
Excellent.
That's probably where I am too, watching and seeing where those opportunities are for me. Ruthie's saying I try to pick and choose carefully because my time is precious.
Yeah.
We all know how busy Ruthie is running her own school, and so yeah, and looking for support that's specific to my needs rather than more general, I guess.
Yes.
And then again, Henna, our friend Henna, who misses TTR, is a snorkeler sometimes, but mostly an observer.
Hmm.
And then we got Mubarak Akadar,
Mhm.
who's involved in EVO as a former lead coordinator.
Yes,
Yep.
the Electronic Village Online.
Yep, that's great. Yeah, great.
They've been around for a long time.
They sure have. Yep. So it's interesting. It's just to find that, and I'm wondering what it would take. I mean, I'm looking to go into one tomorrow that I don't really have an idea of what I'm going to be expected to do, but I'm gonna dip my toes in and see how it goes.
Hmm.
Are
Yes.
you shy, Phil, about jumping into those things or not?
Um, I think it depends also on the topic, of course, and kind of what we already know and bring to the conversation.
Right.
I'm usually quite chatty, as you know, but if I go to something that's new to me, then I'm quite happy to sit there, listen, take some notes, and maybe ask a question or two at the end. Um,
Yeah, yeah,
the I think one of the things that this also goes back to is when we look for professional development opportunities. Quite often, what's presented in terms of learn new skills or get certified, uh, that there'll be uh, experienced presenters, or there might be some certification. There might be a community that you can become a part of. There's opportunities for collaboration. You might get some feedback on anything that you put into your professional development. These are a lot of things that we see kind of advertised
yeah.
or promoted and so on, and we do that ourselves with iTDi, of course. But um, I had this kind of thought today, mostly, that there's this gap between what is kind of presented there and what actually makes that professional development experience valuable to us.
Mm.
And then it
They're
got
not the same, are they? What's advertised and then how it actually manifests itself or
mm,
how it unfolds over the period. It's not always those things that are advertised, is it?
right. And so therefore I started thinking back to, I think it goes back to what really affects how we learn. And that's the same, obviously, with our own classes. So it's nice to be able to think about it in terms of what we're doing as teachers in our own classes for our students, and what we should be trying to put together for our own professional development experiences. Um, and um, Last year, we're talking a little bit about the importance of kind of balancing opportunities for input and output, and also seeing how those interact and provide opportunities for interaction with participants or with a course presenter, and also having the engagement with not just the other people, but engagement with the content, so that that becomes part of our learning, and so that we get not just the understanding and the increasing knowledge, but also that it leads to uptake, which means that that process of change as a teacher. Are we changing what we actually
How
doing in the classroom?
we can incorporate it into our thinking and our doing.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
And we and acknowledging that also we're always in this process of becoming. Um, And so I think going back to those ideas, then now I start to look at professional development opportunities more in terms of, yeah, for this type of thing, am I just looking at to get some tips and tricks, or find some new resources, or am I looking for something deeper in terms of what I'm actually doing in my classroom, so that on the professional development course that I'm looking at, or the webinars I'm going to, am I getting that input, that as well as the output? Am I contributing to forums? And do I have that opportunity as well to make a richer experience? And so that's basically where I think my thinking's being headed. And I thought it was interesting to talk to you about that over the last year or so, and share that with other people and see what their ideas were too.
Yeah. So that again, the input,
Mhm.
the output, and then the interaction leading to some kind of uptake.
Yes.
The uptake meaning that it leads to change in your thinking and your doing.
Mm,
Yes, yeah, that's kind of a nice little framework I think that we can work within.
mm,
I wonder, is it too simplistic to say that I was looking for hints and tricks and tips on how to best use Zoom at the beginning of 2020 when I was forced to,
mhm,
but overall I'm like 30 years plus in the classroom, so I'm looking for a bit more deeper experience, or asking maybe some different kinds of questions than I was when I first started teaching. And
mm,
I was much more interested in what can I do on Monday morning?
Mm,
what can I take directly into the classroom? So
mm.
I'm wondering if that's simplistic in terms of, is it connected to your experience? Well, it's also connected to your context, which this kind of
Yes.
COVID-19 threw all of us back into the rookie chair
Right,
for
yeah, that's right.
months.
That's exactly what I was thinking just now as you're saying that, how, so many experienced teachers that we know, but basically we felt like we're going back to square one if if we're teaching online for the first time.
Yeah,
And a few of us, we've been lucky because we've been doing a lot online already, and people like that started sharing their experience, their knowledge, helping other teachers just how to use Zoom, for example, early on in the
yeah,
year.
yeah, yeah.
And after that, you've also had this huge transformation too, in terms of like what people started doing with other technologies, bringing in quizzes and jam boards, and then realizing, of course, that actually when I go back to face, I don't want to go back to face the way things were before this all happened, because I realized there's so much more out there, and
Yes,
maybe
yes, but
this will
yeah,
change. So 2020
there's
will be better than
yeah,
2019 was.
yeah. I want to read this from Irina Pinuta,
Mhm.
and everybody's jumped on it as well, but liking it and loving it. The
Mm.
spirit of togetherness in the profession on the global scale.
Mm.
The meaning of CPD for me. Right?
Absolutely. That's
And
lovely.
I mean that ultimately is the secret that I've felt over the last number of years with our, as we've been doing these month-long courses for 8 or 9 years now, and we know how to make them work almost every time now. And a huge part of it is that trust
Mm,
that comes out from the community. We
mm.
set up a community that's safe and private and more horizontal than it is vertical. You're talking. Nobody's claiming to be any more valuable than anybody else. Everybody's just sharing what they have. And I mean, you have a case now where you're doing a course with a teacher with a couple of years experience and another teacher with 30 years experience. And I mean, you can talk just for a moment about how, the fear that newbie would have felt at the beginning, but then to be validated by a veteran, how has that been?
Yeah, so I think, this is it's very similar to our classrooms too, and something that you were saying a few years back when we first started in the teachers' room, about how if you get a good group of learners together, and the faster you can get them comfortable and working with each other and build up that trust, and that willingness to share and the teamwork, etc., then you can do a lot more. And that was a big reason for you for doing all that first before you even thought about opening the textbook. Um,
Yeah.
and if that took a week or 2 weeks, then you'd get more out of the following 10 weeks than if you'd
The,
opened it, turn to page one on day one.
the best investment you can make is building that learning community. Hey.
Yes,
Yeah.
and so I think that's really crucial. And sometimes, even as teacher trainers work with experienced teachers, even within own private language schools, or within schools, or doing government training programs, sometimes it's easy to forget the importance of those things. Sometimes you see courses where there is no icebreaker or team building at the beginning, because it's kind of thing, well, we're all experienced teachers there, we don't really need it. But actually sometimes we are still strangers to each other. We're not actually working each other in that context or that situation. So um, the ice breaking at the beginning then actually helps that very much. And you see, for example, there was a course that we're talking about, also teacher development was taking place, and the content in the morning session was excellent, but there was no kind of interaction or talking together or opening up until after lunch, when people would have that opportunity to actually meet people and socialize, relax a bit, and so forth. Um, and yeah, I think that's cannot be overlooked. Those social affective factors that
Mm.
come into all of us.
Well, in the motivation literature, there's the topic of willingness to communicate.
Right.
That's a big topic here in Japan with students who just hold back, hold back, hold back. But boy, if you can get them laughing and trusting and force them to succeed, through easy step by step kinds of interaction, getting them to be able to do this in class, then leads to this, and then leads to, you just do it in incremental steps. It's quite feasible to get them active and lower those filters. Well, it's the same with teachers. If you can provide an environment that they're really listening to each other, really connecting, that's when the magic begins, I think.
Yes, and so I think, in a lot of professional development courses, then we tend to focus on what are we learning cognitively, what kind of knowledge are we gaining, what kind of skills are we gaining. And it was interesting to see actually, there's a paper I dug up from a little research paper into professional development, and it was taking a look at how actually we often forget the other soft skills that we need, whether it's the emotional intelligence, how to discuss things more critically and supportively with each other. And I think what I noticed too on Facebook groups and so on is that, throughout the stress of last year, then a lot of people do feel a little bit more sensitive, or a bit more curt with replies sometimes because they're rushed, etc., etc. But the importance of keeping that healthy, positive, supportive communication and facilitating that is also crucial to successful professional development.
Yep.
No, I'm not telling you anything new, of course.
No. I'm my head's spinning inside, lots of different thoughts I'm trying to sort out.
Shall we see if there's any questions or comments?
I've looked here. Yeah, I've looked here, and we're pretty much caught up. Irina says, "Thanks for citing me." Irina, the more you say brilliant things, the more I will cite you, I promise. So keep sharing what you think, because that's all useful. Let's see. Yeah. I guess I'm curious, again, back to the community of people in the audience, as to what their approach might be for, are you all completely burnt out at this point and, not wanting to even consider more continuing professional development? Or are you out looking around right now? I think Ruthie was very clear that she has to be very clever in making commitments with her very limited, precious time. But you and I talked about this the other day, and you said you wanted to do a lot more in 2021, and I said, "Oh my, you're doing more than anybody I know, on top of raising 3 children under 8 years old." So
right, so yeah, I mean, I stepped right back in 2020, like a lot of people who've got kids at home and so on. Then getting there through their homeschooling was far more important. And but just means that your whole day is taken up basically, and so forth. And there's a lot of teachers who they're working late into the night to continue delivering classes and prepare for classes, but they've got their own kids as well at home and so forth. So scaled that back. This year, my kids, actually, their schools are providing online classes, which they didn't have last year. So they actually they see their teachers. So I'm able to get more of a breather this year and free up.
I have to share with you a quick news flash.
Let's go for it.
Rhett just said, "I'm planning an iTDi TESOL round 3, to which Barbie, who's shown up, put a giant OMG. Yeah. That's very, so just for everybody, Rhett and Barbie actually studied together on our iTDi TESOL certificate. That was the 140 hour certificate.
Yep, in 20 weeks. That was 2 years ago when we first launched.
Yeah, wonderful. It's nice to see both of you coming back. And Rhett, you're going to be you're gonna be you're gonna be you're gonna be sounding like Phil in your sleep at some point very soon. But
Uh,
yeah, Phil has explained how Rhett has used this certificate to meet in a perfect way that we're discussing tonight. He's used the framework of the iTDi TESOL certificate to feed exactly what he needs right now in his own school development, right?
and that
That's
extends
wonderful.
to curriculum development and
Yeah,
everything else under the
yeah,
sun. So yeah, it really goes back to that question about that continuous professional development and what is relevant and meaningful, and making things relevant and meaningful whilst keeping it fun and interesting, and leading to those real changes that impact
right.
our classrooms and our schools. Um, I just wanted to kind of share a little bit as well, thinking about the future. Um, you know, in the OECD education talk just on Thursday,
Yeah,
it was interesting to hear about the increasing recognition that a lot of professional development opportunities really needs to move away from, going away to a weekend training and so forth. And because of the shift to online, then a lot more people are looking to collaborate and also looking at what's going on in their own context. So having more professional development that is based and situated in your own classes, and actually looking at whether it's peer observations and working with your colleagues and so forth, is we've long known that from our own teaching experiences and having had peer observations, but a lot of teachers haven't necessarily had that opportunity. But
I think most haven't had that opportunity,
um,
and I mean, without naming any of the giant services that offer teacher training, a lot of it was teaching other teachers, like practice teaching or
or teaching
simulated.
someone else's students,
Yeah,
like
which
completely
was
different to your own.
well, which used to be the best you could do
Right.
maybe at that time, and it serves some kind of useful function. But now, I mean, that's one of the things that you do that's, totally unique in the TESOL certificate, by having bringing in teachers who have a venue of their own students to be able to video and reflect on. And
Yes.
that's just 100 times better than not doing it that way.
Right. And it's also got a lot easier too, because people are used to now having their classes recorded or being live streamed and so on. So the opportunity to go back and see those videos again, and you can learn so much more from watching yourself teach than somebody else talking about what you did based upon notes,
Right,
which
right.
used to be the next best thing.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, looking into the future, we often hear these buzzwords like, future proofing yourself and future proofing your school or your business. And some of that's looking towards, 21st century skills. Um, and sometimes, these can just become buzzwords, but I think it's really worth thinking about how we turn these into tangible assets in our professional development and also for our learners as well.
That's kind of critical thinking
Mhm.
again for,
Yes.
yeah, what you choose to do with your time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so hopefully that's given us the opportunity to think a little bit more creatively about how we approach professional development as well as critically,
Yeah.
looking at those communities, collaboration and communication.
I'm at some point wanting to tell you about this innovation of 2021 that we have.
Yes. So
And
as we wrap up this and move into our last section, we'd just like to share some of the opportunities that are taking place. So we mentioned the Dogma ELT group have a session tomorrow on learner autonomy and Dogma in the ELT classroom. So
the link is in this Facebook Live. If you scroll up, Maria dropped the link in earlier.
brilliant. And we'll share that on our page later. There's the JOUT have a new group launching tomorrow, Japan Association for Language Teaching.
Yes, on the Facebook page, if you go JALT, J-A-L-T, they have something called ZPD,
Mhm.
which is a very clever play on
The zone of proximal development.
yeah, then it's actually the Zoom for professional development. They're starting a new monthly um, professional development group. So go in and check that out. I'm hoping I'll be able to get in and check that out as well.
Mhm. Is that just open to JOUT members, or is it open for anybody?
Not sure. You got to go check it out. I don't remember that. I know that it's free, but I don't know that they're checking Jolt memberships or not.
Right. Um,
I have an opinion, but it's better to go check, I think.
okay. And if it is free, yeah, it's a great opportunity for people to check what the organization's about and yeah, dip your feet in. And then there's, yeah, Aziz Sobai on Everyone Academy. I was just going to share that very briefly. I'll share
Yeah,
my screen.
show us that.
And so he's got a huge range of interviews he's been doing week after week. And then he's got Patrice Palmer just coming up about self-care. And she also did courses with us as well, iTDi. And then this one was later in the month, but actually if you scroll down the page, you actually find the webinars for February all posted here as well. So he's been getting some excellent interviews with people from all over the world on a huge range of topics. And I'll hand back to you, Steve. We've got something called Global Minds in Language Education, or GMAL. Or
Good try. Good try. Yeah. Oh, I was super busy this afternoon and wasn't able to get a graphic put together. But so I just want to kind of tease out the idea just a little bit and then ask you to come. We'll have a full webinar on this maybe in the next month or so. But starting in May and June, we're starting a new innovation that's kind of tied into this concept of going deeper in 2021. And Scott Thornbury and I and Kevin Ryan have been brainstorming about this idea for quite a while now. And the idea is basically each of us have chosen a book that is on our shelf that is just begging for us to go deeper into it. And we're setting up a new course, which is called Great Minds in Language Education. And so there's a book that's full of so much, like one book, any one book that we've chosen, that's full of so much to learn, both theoretically and classroom practice orientation. And we are going to put a course together that goes through that book in depth over 8 weeks. And it's going to have, similar to our advanced courses, it's going to have live weekly sessions and discussion forum and a reading schedule, and then live discussions where we act more as facilitators and trying to keep everybody engaged and moving forward than actually lecturing. But yeah, so each of us have chosen a book. I can tell you, Scott Thornbury has chosen a book called Earl Stevick's Meaningful Action, Earl Stevick's Influence on Language Teaching. I have chosen a book by John Hattie, which is called Visible Learning for Teachers, Maximizing Impact on Learning. And Kevin Ryan has chosen the book by Rod Ellis et al., which is on task-based language teaching, theory and practice. So you'll see lots more about this, but this kind of harkens back to my personal best learning experience, which was doing the MA and studying together all the heavy readings we had, but by myself it was boring, and the uptake was very small because I need to discuss, I need to debate, I need to explain to other people. So that's the purpose or the goal of this, that we get, a number of like-minded teachers who are interested to go deep and work together and have a very significant learning experience together. I'm not sure, is that
Yeah.
somewhat clear, or any questions come up, Phil?
Well, it sounds exciting, and yeah, rather than just reading a book by yourself, then you have a group of people to work through it together and um, deepen your understanding, exchange ideas and opinions on things, and see how it applies to your own context,
Yeah.
and hopefully put things into practice and be able to share and reflect on those together as well.
I just have this sense that if there were, for example, 10 of us in the group,
Mhm.
just imagine if you and I and 8 others who had opinions, who had some experience or not much experience, but had opinions, was able to, trust each other in this group and explore stuff. Oh my, wow, what fun that would be. That's what we're looking at doing.
Well, something to look forward to, and hopefully we'll be able to get maybe a Facebook Live to talk more about that in April then,
Yeah.
ahead of the course. Um,
Let me
yeah,
just update quickly. Anne has always on the ball. Anne has said that Jolt's ZPD is open to members and non-members alike. So anybody in the world is welcome to come or to go in there and check it out. Again, Jolt ZPD. Thank you, Anne.
and last but not least, Korea TESOL. I posted onto our Facebook page earlier today, I believe, but Korea TESOL will be online this year, spread out over 10 years. Their international conference registration deadline is, I think, the 10th of February.
Yep.
And ahead of that, we look forward to seeing Michael Free from Korea TESOL. Is that correct? On
Yes.
the 6th.
Yes. 6th of February. That's a week from now, isn't it? A week from tomorrow.
Yeah, a week from today,
Okay, there you go.
I think.
And we'll have a live session with Michael to talk about the co-TESOL, and they're having an extended conference online this year as well for about 10 days, I believe. But
Yes.
yeah, just watch our Facebook page for that.
Yeah, you can go directly to theirs, the COTISO International Conference.
Yeah, and thanks everybody. There have been 5 or 6 people making comments about the great minds in language education. We're trying to call it GMILE, and also it's fun. Jim Ronald saying that he's involved in something very similar with colleagues at his university, going through a book together, the same way we're talking about doing. So it's a good idea. I hope its time has come that people will jump in and get involved.
Definitely.
Yeah.
All right. So thank you very much, everyone, for coming tonight. I apologize for the slightly delayed start. For anybody else there, just to let you know that if you're going from Zoom and you stream directly into your event, go live into your event, then sometimes your connection may not actually go through. It will tell you on Zoom that you're live on Facebook, but you may not actually be live on Facebook. So go live on your page, it will automatically go live in your event for you. So that's the easier option and the simple one. So
we tried that 3 or 4 times tonight and couldn't get it to happen. Is that right?
Yeah, 2 times. That's unlucky.
There you go.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody. And with that, we'll say good night, good morning, good afternoon from iTDi headquarters in our respective little offices.
Thank you, and enjoy the rest of the weekend.
Thank you. Bye-bye.